Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and as things are a little bit quieter, you know, holiday season, we'll do what we do every single year and go through all the cards that will be rotating to Wild with the Year of the Wolf basically leaving Standard, and as the Blizzard devs usually do every year when cards rotate, a ton of them get reverted, some stay, you know, because they're problematic. While there's a lot, I believe, on this list that will probably qualify as that. But yeah, I'll give my opinions on what I feel like is a safe revert, what isn't, don't do it. And I would love to hear your guys' takes in the comments down below on what you would think should or should not get changed. And we still have our giveaway going on for $100, two $50 winners of Hearthstone packs out of my wallet or out of my pocket, whatever, to enter that giveaway. Like a comment in the video link down in the description below, the one with that thumbnail over there. If we manage to hit, I think we're like 600 subscribers away from 90K, I will add another $100. So hit that sub button, make me go broken. It would be an amazing Christmas gift if we could hit that, but if not, whatever, no big deal. Anyways, let's take a look at what cards I think should or should not get reverted. This template, I believe, is from Flair's video, by the way, so it's got like multiple versions, and he gave his takes. I gotta give my own anyways. There's a bunch of Renos in here, and we'll just go with the version I think they should go back to. I don't think it should stay at 10, so we'll just put them all to do not revert, and I think you go to 9 is safe revert with the current text it has. Like limiting the board or poofing the infinite stuff, I feel like this was always really unfun, and it could be just a clean board sweep. I could argue maybe at 8 you could risk it with the current text, but I feel like the way it is right now, does anybody really want to be limited on board? Do you want to have your Starship or your Titan Sargeras pod removed? No. So I would go with the 9 mana version, but if you want to risk it, go to 8. But I wouldn't go back to the old text. I feel like it should stay the way it is and also be based on starting deck, because I don't know, just those cycle things alone, really annoying. Boom Boss now shuffles into your opponent's deck, but it could go back to your own, would be the original version. I think that's probably safe. Boom Boss is really slow for Wild, and there's so many ways to like blow up your opponent's stuff or anything like that. I think it would be pretty darn safe. Celestial Projectionist at 2 mana. Barely ever saw play at Wild. Very safe revert in my opinion. Yeah, you could copy giants and things like that, but I don't see it as a big deal in Wild. Crash of Thunder went from 5 to 6, and at 5 in Wild, I think it's a safe revert, especially considering what I'll say already. But like, Spear of the Frog still at 5 mana. Like the Nature Shaman stuff isn't insane in Wild, but there's a card we have to be safe on. And yeah, Crash of Thunder, I think is pretty safe. As is Crescendo, although it's a bit more of a mix because there were some like pretty crazy Insanity Warlock stuff going on, and now that the Demon Seed has changed, maybe people would do that, but it's probably safe. I just always kind of hesitant on cards that lead to more base and OTK style strategies in Wild, because there's already an abundance of that. So I always go on the safer side, but I feel like Crescendo would probably be fine for Wild. Crystal Cluster just got nerfed very recently to 7. It's a safe revert. There's like better ramp cards in Wild already. It wouldn't really matter. Bran to 6 mana. I don't know, man. It's just such an unfun strat, and saw plenty of play in Wild before it got nerfed. I probably wouldn't risk it. I'd probably leave it at do not revert. I don't know. I just don't like what it promotes. But you could risk it, you honestly could, but I will go towards the safer version of do not revert. So we have Doomkin, which used to be 6 mana at 7 right now. That's absolutely safe revert. I don't know if I've ever seen it played in Wild, and again, there's so much more gross things you could do than steal some mana in the format. Flash of Lightning, this is the card I would 100% not revert. The only thing it could lead to is just insane OTKs. That would upset people, and I just feel like we got enough of that in Wild. To me, absolutely do not revert it. Forge of Wills is an interesting one, because at 3, it's pretty insane. I would just feel bad for the even Warlocks that play this card, right? Because it's really good in that deck. And if you know, unnerf it to 3, the card's way better, but then you can't play it at even lock. So I think it's safe. I think it's probably safe. I would just feel bad for even Warlock enjoyers on that. So I will also go make my face a tiny bit bigger here. I'm going to put it towards probably safe, but think of the even lock players, right? Funnel Cakes at 1, do not revert, was a huge problem in Wild as well. I just don't think these cards should be like that strong. And then you're just encouraging in particular the whole Miracle Druid stuff, which is already really good. I leave it alone. Leave Funnel Cakes alone. I don't think that's a good idea. Gaslight Gatekeeper at 3 mana is probably safe. There's a bit of worries with rogues and cycling and all of that, which could be an issue in Wild, but they have like still like passage and gear shifts and all that stuff that I don't know if they would bother with it, but again, probably safe, but could be one that's a little bit more dangerous. Imprisoned Horror as a 5/5, do not revert. Just don't. Like, it's been seeing play in all the paid stuff, the Demon Seed. I know it just recently got nerfed significantly. I don't know if they're running it as heavily, but it's so easy to get to 0. It's already such a good card in Wild. I would not revert it whatsoever. Injured Hauler, absolutely safe. Overheal Priest, barely a thing in Wild, and this got like over nerfed. It really did at the time. I feel, even as somebody who craps on Priest all the time, I thought it was too much. Give it back its full AoE. It's fine. If Molten Giant does rotate, we don't know if it will. We don't know next year's core set, but it did get nerfed during the year. I think it's safe to revert to 20 if it goes back to Wild. It would actually be a nerf to Holy Wrath because some lists still run it, right? But yeah, give those Warlock decks the card back. I don't think it's a big deal. A lot of them didn't run Molten anyways. I think it'd be fine. Reska at 20, I think is safe. Plus, it gives even Death Knight its card back, right? It can't use it right now, which it certainly did before, and not really ever a problem in Wild. Saddle Up, again, super safe. Token Beast Hunter, never really used it anyways in Wild. There are versions that see play, but yeah, never used it at 3. So I think it's fine to go back. Showdown be interesting because it was so good in Even Paladin. I think would bring it back. I think for Wild purposes, it'd be really kind of, I think it's probably safe. I think you could put it back to 2. I think it'd be nice for Even Paladin in particular. And I know Paladin doesn't need the help in Wild right now, but again, I think it'd be fine. Sickly Grimewalker at 3 mana, I think it's absolutely safe. Didn't see a ton of play in Wild, and yeah, I think, you know, it's an efficient clear in a format that barely fights for board, so it's fine. 0 mana Oil, I would say it's safe. Yes, it leads to more OTK strats and all that at 0, but they never really use the oil in Wild. With Miracle Salesman, it's usually too slow there, but you could consider it. Maybe it's more of a problem. I'll go probably safe because of what it, you know, basically encourages, but I don't think it would be a big deal. Thirsty Drifter, before it got nerfed, it saw play in Shadow Priest. After, not really. I wouldn't revert it, mainly because Shadow Priest has been so good for so long. I don't feel like it needs any assistance. Like, maybe they slot it back in, I don't know, but like, do we need that deck to be any stronger? I would not revert it. Trial by Fire, it's 6. I don't know, I'm biased. I'm gonna go probably safe on all these categories for this deck, but I enjoy the Even Warrior stuff with Odin, and it wasn't like insane, but it was good. So I'm gonna go probably safe so that Even Warrior can play it again. And in Wild, 6 mana Trial by Fire is like nothing. Aftershocks got changed, I believe, multiple times. I don't know if it's listed multiple times on here, but yeah, at 4 you could play it for 2, right? It would discount by 2 rather than the 1 right now. Again, probably safe for those Even Warriors. I mean, it's a safe rebirth. I think it's completely safe. Awakening Tremors used to give 4 ones instead of the 3 ones right now, which is safe, I would think. I don't even really recall it seeing play in Hunter and Wild. Pretty indefensive for that. Deputization Aura used to give +3 attack, I believe, instead of the +1. I actually think it's probably safe for Wild. It's pretty insane. Maybe you go to +2, but I don't ever really recall it seeing a ton of play. Shroomscavate used to give Wind Fury and Excavate. I don't like reverting this. I just don't think Paladin should have access to Wind Fury like that. And the only things, again, it can spawn are more in-hand charge OTKs. And considering like the Libram thing going on right now with all the buffs, and then you play Shroomscavate in there, that's really scary. So again, I wouldn't revert it. Cactus Construct, I think I gave a 1/2 or a 2/1. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have the graphic there. But for Wild, yeah, it's a safe revert. I don't see it being too offensive in that format. Chaos Creation used to deal 6 and summon a 6-drop and discard 6 cards. Yeah, I think that's an absolutely safe revert. Barrels of Sludge stuff really wasn't a big threat in the format whatsoever. And Mage, I guess they'll feel slightly better about having still a pretty bad card. Odin at 8, that's the one where I'm expecting some contention about. I'm gonna say risk it, because I really did enjoy the Even Warrior deck, and then you can play it again, and it saw a lot of play, so it's kind of iconic for some people. And if you have Trial by Fire at 6, Aftershocks at 4, maybe a Sanitize. Okay, we're not going to do Sanitize at 4. That's insane. But maybe leave that at 6. I don't know. I just feel like it's worth the risk. But again, I'm super biased. This is my list. And if you want to disagree in the comments below, have at it. And I'll be very interested to see what they do. But in terms of Wild activating an 8 mana win condition, I feel like is in line with the format that you're dying way sooner than that most of the time. Pentant of Earth used to give armor, and they've now made a 100 mana card. You cannot revert this. You just absolutely can't. You hit that, you just don't die against like any deck, and who knows what else you can do with that, right? That is just an unrevertible card at this point. Sludge on Wheels used to have a bit extra health. Absolutely safe for Wild. The whole barrels of sludge, not a big deal in the format. Felrock, the dragon version, used to be a 3/6 with charge. It's not safe to revert, not even for Wild. I would leave that alone. If you just activate it, it can't kill it. I just don't think it's something you could. Okay, I'll argue, if I'm gonna be biased about Odin, you could possibly revert this for a while, but it's really risky. I don't love it, but I'll live dangerously. I'll say risk it. I'll put against my anti-rogue bias lately and put it at risk it, but I probably wouldn't. It's probably not a great idea. Waste Remover as a 4 mana 7/7, I think it's absolutely safe for the Wild format. Whelp, the dragon ramp, sees play still in Wild in like Reno decks. It's like playable at 3, and it got nerfed twice, right? I would leave it as is. I actually wouldn't change either of them. I think the card is fine at 3. I don't think Druid needs more ramp help in Wild. I think it's fine. Boogie Down at 3, you could absolutely revert this. It didn't really see a ton of play. They have Call to Arms unnerfed in Wild right now. Do you need a 3 mana Boogie Down? I don't think so. Desert Nest Matron, same category as the Whelp. It still sees play in some Druid decks in Wild, giving it back the extra health. I think it was a 3/5, not needed. Or was it a 3/5? I'll have the graphic up, but I don't think it's needed. I wouldn't do it. And this is somebody who really likes to play some Druid. Prismatic Beam, I would also not revert, mainly because it would just really suck at Even Paladin, and you kind of want to play it Even Paladin. Also, it went face instead too, right? It was 1 mana cheaper. It went face, and I'm recommending Showdown go down. I feel like you leave it alone. I feel like you leave it at the 7 mana and let the 8 mana Showdown thing work for Even Paladin. Would be quite nice. Shadow Reflections, I believe, changed twice, so they couldn't copy a Titan, and they also made it so they didn't add a copy to your hand. So there are 2 more changes to that. That is another card where I feel like the only thing I can really do is encourage Druid to do ENR bullcrap, and I feel like that could very well be a thing in Wild with all the ramp, all that going on. Again, I would not revert that card. Dr. Holiday's weapon used to be what, a 2/9? And you get, more attack in. Absolutely safe. I think that's a safe one. If you're reverted, like, it's 1 extra attack in that format. I can't imagine it's a big deal. Bigger Jormonger, I'd risk it. Like, it was never a big player in Wild. It could be one that backfires, because again, all it really does do is encourage OTK strats, but I feel like I don't remember it really popping up. I think it would be worth the risk. Battle-Worn Faceless at 2 mana, it used to be, was insane in Standard. Don't remember it being a huge deal in Wild. It's probably safe, although there's the risky skipper shenanigans you always have to worry about, but I think it's okay. Blind Eye Sharpshooter at 3, there is absolutely no way in hell I am ever saying anything but do not revert, particularly with the Demon Hunter quest line, being able to discount this down to 2 or 1 mana. I just don't want to risk it, because all this card can do is enable insane OTK strategies and literally nothing else. And I just don't want to see more of that in Wild, right? Like, there's already enough. They nerf a lot of that stuff. I can't possibly encourage that. Inquisitive Creation, absolutely insane AoE effect, but never really saw play in Wild, and I don't think would, even at 4 mana, because you're not doing the Sif stuff when you have ice blocks and infinite shenanigans. I would say it's absolutely a safe revert. Burst Strength, this is such an insane card at 4 mana. Still sees play in Standard at 5 sometimes. In Wild, not so much. If you buff it back to 4, you're looking at Even Paladin. I already said Showdown and Prismatic Stag. I don't think you risk it, but you could. We'll go with risk it. I'll be a bit more a little scary on that one. Really buffing the crap out of even Paladin, I must say. But yeah, I feel like it's not super offensive for the format, but I'll go with risk it. The Azurite Snake, again, all it could do is promote OTK stuff that you can't interact with. And this is one of the most uninteractive things where it stole 10 health instead of 7 to just replay it 3 times. In Wild, I feel like that's even more achievable. And plus the card was only like this for like a few days. It's less iconic in this form, to be fair. I wouldn't revert it. Again, I just don't want to promote that stuff in Wild. Intimidated Lasher used to be 2 mana and was very good in Wild. Is very good everywhere. Really gross, insane mana cheat scam card. No, I do not think you revert that card. Embrace of Nature was just insane in Standard, particular with like Drum Circle, that consistency, or Nourish for a while. I think it's absolutely safe in Wild. Again, the Druid decks are so fast there that I don't think they would waste their time on a strat like this. Prison Breaker used to do 3 damage instead of 2. There's a lot of the Miracle decks that can use this, but I feel like 1 more damage really isn't going to do a big deal in Wild. I think it's safe. Yogg is an interesting one because there was 2 versions, right? We had the 15 mana one that became 0 very quickly, even faster in Wild in Druid and Rogue. You absolutely cannot go back to that form. It would be a disaster if they did that for Wild. So that's like one of my safest. Do not at all revert. But the 9 mana version that they reworked it to, that it was for a very long time until recently, yeah, you can absolutely put it back to 9. I don't think that would be a big deal. Upper Tail Snoop used to be a 4/3, now a 3/2, and would be very inoffensive in the Wild format. I think it's safe. Craftsman Hammer giving extra armor. It did lose a bit of its potency. Also got a buff before that, but we're not talking about that. I think it's probably fine to leave, to not revert. If you're buffing like Odin or, you know, the other cards to go with it, the card still sees play. It's still good even in Wild. So I won't use my warrior bias. I don't think you revert it. I think it's fine as is. Only King of Piracy is interesting because it went to 7 and had its text reworked that you didn't take your opponent's deck or switch with it. It would just copy it. I would put it back to 5. So I think it's absolutely safe at 5 with its current text. You cannot go back on the old text because, well, that's what was the problem with the card. It was even worse in Wild. It was more problematic in Wild. So I absolutely do not revert the text on the card, but you can absolutely revert the mana. I think at 5 copying, although it's kind of just Benedictus, I guess, although that would add it. I think it's fine for Wild. But yeah, I would not change that text whatsoever. The Symphony of Sins one, where it would discount, I believe, your highest cost minion instead of just a random one, I think it's probably safe. Like, yeah, you could try and scam out Sargeras earlier, but in Wild, is that big a deal? I don't think so. Sanitize went through some stuff where it went from 4 to 5, and then it went from 5 to 6, I believe, where they took some armor. I can't remember exactly the way it went. I think you leave Sanitize as it is. You could risk it and put it down to 5. At 4, it was just so absurd, right? Like, I can't argue for it to go back to 4, but I can argue for it to go to 5. But for even warrior purposes, do you prefer it 6? I probably put it to 5, call it a day. I think 4 would probably be a bit too much. Star Strombo used to have 6 attack on it, and I think that's completely safe for Wild. You know, give it extra attack, it's fine. The secret decks can be pretty good. A little tool to give back to Even Hunter. I don't see a big issue with it. Costume Singer, interesting one. I don't think you ever revert this, right? It used to be a 2/1, it's a 1/1. Every secret deck for Mage and Hunter still play this card. Like, I don't see a reason. If it's seeing play in Wild as it is, which it does, why revert it, right? I just don't see the point. You could risk it. I don't think it would make a huge difference. I just don't see the point. I'll put it under risk it because, like, Secret Mage and Secret Hunter aren't insane right now, but you really don't need to, right? But either way, I think I could live with it. Disco Mullet 2 is just too stupid. It was dumb even in Wild, and in particular, if you're giving even Paladin all this stuff too, just getting those buffs is just nuts, and I just do not think you revert it. Hollow Hound is a 3/6, absolutely safe revert for Wild. Would be a nice addition to even Deathlight if they wanted to play it. Harder to remove, but again, Wild is so not minion based that having a lifesteal cleave is not a big deal. Lab Constructor used to be 4 mana, was like the only one to predict that this card would get nerfed, and yeah, it's safe for Wild, although there are some shenanigans probably there. I think it's still completely safe. even if it could snowball, whatever, not a big deal. Posic used to be a 5-4. I think it's safe. You barely ever saw it play in Wild, and the stats aren't that big a deal for the format. And the Rowdy fan, I believe, used to give 4 attack instead of 3, and I think that's completely safe for Wild. So there you go. Those are my picks for the cards to get reverted. Let me know in the comments down below what you agree with and disagree with. And a lot that I feel like shouldn't be, but I think there's a more in general you can revert overall. I'm not, hopefully not being too conservative, but hey, that's what I do because I've seen what Wild can turn into. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.